Gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal edition. Obviously, this is a very special edition because for the first time, maybe ever, not ever, because we did this last year as well, but we weren't on camera back then. But this is the first time we're seeing Coach and I in the same camera shot for the first time in a minute. We did this once when we hopped on the Shades of Blue podcast.
Shout them out as well. We're taking the title.
For sure, but they know that. We ain't got to tell them that. They know that. But we are here to talk about Arsenal's 3-1 win over Southampton. We're both at the game. Coach, there was a bunch of heavy rotation in the lineup this time, which makes sense given the nature of the opposition. What did you make of the lineup, what we saw? We saw Thomas Partey playing in the right back role, and I apologize for vocalizing his name because I haven't done that in what feels like years at this point. But I was at the game, and I guess I'm still caught up a bit in the euphoria because I don't get to go to games that often. But we had him at right back, we had Gabby Jesus come in, we had Raheem Sterling come in, we had Jorginho come in. What did you make of the changes, given that the international break was coming up? I kind of felt we probably should have stuck with what we had to just see it out, then start with the rotation when people got back. But maybe that's not the way. Well, that's definitely not what Mikel wanted to do. What did you make of it?
So I'm glad that Sterling started at least. I feel like it was good. It's good to get minutes in his legs, and Martinelli has played so much. Like I'm thinking back to the Man City game, he's put in so many kilowatts into his performances of late that I feel like it was just fair for him to get some sort of relief, and that's exactly why we bought Sterling. Jorginho came in for his second start of the season. And again, you have to get these players are going to come in cold in the middle of November or December, not having played at all. It makes no sense. Like you have to find minutes for these guys, and we're very fortunate that we actually have players. I know it sounds like I'm stating the obvious, but we have actually have players that we can play and depend on. We're not depending on Holding. We're not depending on, all due respect, Nuno Tavares. It's good to have those options. On number 5, playing at right back, Bukayo Saka is a sick man. He's been wanting to do this for a long time, and he was like, Southampton, we will be there. We will be there. That's all I have to say on that. He's been wanting to try that forever.
Yeah, he was doing that before Timber got injured at the beginning of last season. The experiment basically got shelved between Timber getting hurt and Five himself getting hurt. It just didn't happen that often. Yeah. I can't say I was mad at it yesterday. What did you make of that specific performance?
To be honest, it was the performance of someone that knew that the legs had completely gone. You guys, Tosin, if you could be very kind enough to put up the heat map around here somewhere, but he played in that half space. And that was it. You guys have to forgive me, like I only remember one overlapping run that he made in the second half. But genuinely, I think that was it. He played in that half space, pretty much the midfield role, but when it came to defending the wide areas, I think he actually done quite well, especially in the air as well, actually. But yeah, I think it was just something Arteta wanted to try. He's now scratched his itch, and hopefully he never does that shit again, to be honest. But it wasn't a bad performance at all, I don't think.
That's fair. Watching him yesterday live in the stadium, I thought to myself, you know what? He's actually playing that in the way that Arsenal fans, regardless of how you feel about the player, given what we know about his injury history, that's exactly the way we want him to play. We don't want him making long busting runs up and down the wing. His hamstrings are brisket at this point. We don't want him taking those risks because we do need the body, regardless of what you think of his quality as a player at this stage. We need the body for the rest of this season. That first half, it ended 0-0. Arsenal did not create a lot of clear-cut chances. So the term sterile domination comes to mind. But is domination sterile if you don't score? Like, is that a fair way to characterize dominating the ball to the extent that the other team essentially has one relatively harmless shot on goal for an entire half? There was one big chance in the first half for us. We created 1.19 expected goals. Southampton created 0.06. We had 14 shots. Raya made one save, but again, it really wasn't. It was a shot from Kyle Walker-Peters. Isn't it weird that his name is Kyle Walker as well as the other? He's also a right back. Let's not get into that. We had 8 corner kicks, 313 passes to Southampton's 146, and it was just total domination statistically, visually. but we didn't score. And I can't remember Ramsdale making a lot of saves. So, and watching Mikel's interview after the game, he seems to feel that we performed well in that half. What's your take on that?
I think we played well enough to go in one goal up. Probably not more than that. We already created actually one big chance. I'm totally okay with that. In regards to the domination, Southampton actually, they did what they're supposed to do. They surrendered, to the superior team. I personally thought they wouldn't, because I feel like their coach has been a bit naive in their first 6 games, but he recognises what he's up against, which I think is incredibly important. If you're a team fighting at the bottom of the table, you can't all that fantasy shit that a lot of coaches do as well, where they'll take these teams that are clearly not good and try to impart a philosophy on them on players that can't execute it. But in a way, they're trying to probably build their own profile up a little bit rather than do what's best for the club and for their players. But that's a story for another day. But I think Arsenal's approach was very much, let's try and get out of here and get home for dinner as quickly as we can. And it just didn't work. It worked, like some passes weren't connecting. Jorginho, to be fair to him, played quite a few of those adventurous passes, but they weren't clicking as they would. He had a good shot himself. The domination territorially comes, most teams that come to the Emirates are going to play to that. Any team that's not Liverpool or City are going to defend their box, like for sure. And I think just the areas of the pitch that we played in, Declan Rice probably should have got on the ball a little bit more. I'd say that would have helped, but again, I can't really fault him for, there wasn't as much space as we probably would have wanted. But that probably would have been another avenue for us to attack, because that first half was very much, we're going down the sides. Saka was great, which we'll get onto, but we're going down the sides and we weren't trying to really pull, their deep block apart through the middle of the pitch. It weren't happening too much. There wasn't that many switches of play. So yeah, I think it was good domination, but it wasn't punchy enough, So
yeah, you mentioned switches. What did you make of the fact that there weren't a lot of switches? Was that Calafiori to Saka at some point from left to right? Was that? Do you think that's a tactical request from the manager, or was it a function of the fact that we have a bunch of new connections in the field? Because there was a lot of rotation, as we mentioned earlier, and we didn't have the same connections and chemistry between the players that we're used to over the last couple of weeks. Is it more of that, or is it more the fact that, because again, the last couple of weeks we played more direct as well, because Havertz was the 9 as opposed to Gabby Jesus. So is it a function of the personnel, or was it something Southampton was doing?
Yeah. A combination of both, but I think I want to give a bit more credit to Southampton. But there's the trust element there as well, for sure. We had 5 at right back. I don't, as good as his passing range is, I'm not too sure he would have been instructed to send the ball 60 yards to Sterling in space. In regards to Big Pasta, he's probably the one player I think at this point Arteta is accepting that he's a bit of a maverick. So he just has to let him kind of figure shit out on the ball, but obviously off the ball, he's great positionally. I think his body shape sometimes isn't the best at times. But the switches, it's just a space thing. They block the middle kind of thing, but then the moment the ball went out wide, Saka was triple teamed every time. And when they didn't, it looked weird. Like, I kept on saying to myself, like, you're going to need more help than that when there's only 2 players on him. Like, I kept on saying to myself, and then they eventually got some help to him. But yeah, I think it's probably an instruction not to switch too much, because you're going to end up, obviously, Southampton are going to end up obviously adjusting to that as quickly as possible. So I think it was just a patience thing. But they played well. Like, they defended. I think they defended their box quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll give them credit, but I feel as if the game could have been very different if one of those Sterling moments, I'm not going to call them chances, in the first half of the first half. I thought Bednarik committed a penalty foul in the box that the referee didn't give. If we score early there, the game looks entirely different. It ends up being like a 5-7-0 type game, I think. But that didn't actually happen. Let's just skip ahead to the second half, because there were no goals to talk about in the first half, so you might as well get to the second half. And I suppose credit Southampton, because again, they weren't entirely hapless given their position in the table and the quality of the squad that they have. but we had a moment where Sterling got caught on the ball in midfield. I personally thought it was a foul, but obviously I'm biased because I'm an Arsenal fan, and that's where it looked from where I was sitting. My seats were really nice, by the way, better than his. Yes. But Sterling got bundled over. I forget the player's name. Fernandez. He plays a nice ball into the channel for Cameron Archer. Saliba, for me, is a little passive in that moment. I'd much rather he gets beat on the dribble than the way he sort of, I suppose he did what he was supposed to do. And he sort of ushered in, but it's like, you got to force him onto his weaker foot. I think for the most part, every player, if you want to guess, 85% of players are right-footed. You let him cut in on the strong foot, and it deflects off your tackle past the goalkeeper. I thought that was a poor effort by, it's not arguable for me anymore, but the best defender in the league. That said, that seems to be what actually woke Arsenal up. Do you think Arsenal would have responded as quickly as they did if Southampton didn't make the move that they made in scoring the goal, essentially?
I think Arteta already made up his mind on the subs before we. It was 3 minutes between their goal and our goal. So I think Arteta's mind was already made up. It just happened to be that the breaks in play didn't fall quick enough. We scored, and I think that the next break of play, we made the sub straight away, kind of thing. And I think Arsenal's approach to the second half was, we're gonna keep playing, and Southampton probably got a bit more aggressive. That's what it was. They got a bit more aggressive and they played a little bit higher up. And I was looking at, they had a lot more of the ball than I thought they would, and it actually ended up being, statistically even backed up. Southampton made more passes than us in the second half. And I think a lot of those came after the fact, which we'll get into after we had obviously taken the lead. But there was a change in their approach, and they closed the gaps even more, which was very frustrating to watch. But the goal itself, good ball. The spacing behind that we always leave because we tempt teams. But yes, Saliba, I think, could have been a bit. It reminded me a little bit of the Watkins goal a couple of years ago. Yeah. I thought that would have been cut out of his game by now. But again, no one's perfect,
Yeah, if Archer had scored that Watkins goal, which I forget what foot Watkins is strong. He's a lefty.
No, he's a righty.
He's a righty. But so he scored on his weak foot. I can forgive that. Yeah. It's like, okay, good job, striker, but you can't let a guy cut in like that. It felt a little passive from him. But everyone's allowed to make mistakes. I do hate how often we concede at home. But that's a topic for another day. We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again, but not today. 3.5 minutes passed before Saka intercepted a pass from, I think it was Flynn Downs, trying to pass out to the wing when Southampton were playing with a little bit of confidence after their goal. Saka intercepts, plays it straight into Kai Havertz. He cuts onto his strong foot on the striker, wrong foots him, just bangs it. Very Van Persie-esque, I think. That guy's such, on this podcast, we're patient with players, so we, there are no guarantees about a signing, but when you spend 60 to 70 million on a player, if you're a fan of the team, regardless of how you feel about that signing, you want it to work out. We always wanted it to work out. It has worked out undoubtedly. I can hold up my hands and say, okay, maybe he's not a midfielder or he's more a striker than a midfielder at this point. I can admit that, but I would like you to just, I don't want to quote the stats because you all have social media. You can go look up all the wonderful things he's done since the turn of the calendar year. Is it like 22 goals and 22 goals and assists and 21 appearances for Arsenal this season. Goals in every game we've played at home this season. That's a volume scoring striker at this point. This is the second best striker in the league, arguably, after the robot at 130 charges FC.
I want to say on form,
it's been a whole year.
It's been a whole year, but I'm still looking at Ollie Watkins, and I'm just like, I put it like this: Kai Havertz, for what Arsenal need, he's everything we need right now, which is I can't ask for more. Basically, he's a focal point. He works his socks off. He scores goals, and that last point, even though I've left it last, it's the most important part. He scores goals. All the other shit is a bonus, and it works. It helps us play. It puts the fear of God into centre backs and whoever else comes up against him. But he's scoring goals, and I'm not going to dig him out because we're going to have to talk about him. But Gabby Jesus is a wonderful footballer, like genuinely a wonderful footballer. He just doesn't score goals, and it's harsh to say, but if you're a forward player, especially he wears number 9 for us. He's a striker. You need to score goals, and it's the manner of which Kai Havertz has been able to take up this mantle as our talisman, almost if you like, And the way he's scoring these goals, like I think it was, we go back to the Newcastle game, which to me was the changing point in his entire, probably in his career, to be honest. Because he scored the winning Champions League final and shit went left for him after that. So I think that Newcastle game was the turning point. And since then, there's been so much more conviction in all his actions, in literally all of his actions. I made a joke a couple of years back, when he's been a player that likes to try tricks. He likes the ball rolls, he likes the chops, he likes to step over and stuff like that. And I was thinking, Ballack doesn't fuck with any of that shit kind of thing. Like Michael Ballack doesn't. Michael Ballack is Michael Ballack. But Havertz is a player that thrives on confidence, and he's trying shit now. Like, he got his goal yesterday. He took it very much. That's a Van Persie goal. Like, whether you guys want to admit it or not, that's a Van Persie goal. The level of precision, the mechanics that went into it, the fact that he shifted onto his stronger foot and he used the momentum of his body and his speed to generate even more power to get it past the goalkeeper, even though he hit it on his instep. That's fantastic striking. Like, that is
technique.
Just straight up kind of thing. So that married up with the fact that he actually works his socks off. What more do you actually want from him? So I've talked myself into saying, yeah, he probably is the second best striker in the league right now.
Yeah, because you mentioned a whole bunch of things, and I like Ollie Watkins. I respect him as a player, but you mentioned a lot of things that Havertz does that I don't really associate with Ollie Watkins, and I can admit that I don't watch him every week. But we're not subbing Kai Havertz out for a backup that's scoring goals every week, like it's happening at Villa. And that's no disrespect to Ollie Watkins. Shout out John Durant, great player in the making, great player in the making. But you mentioned Gabi Jesus, who is supposed to be, at this point, he came to Arsenal to be the main man. That is clearly not the case anymore, for reasons that are not strictly within his control. I saw a lot of criticism of him online. There was criticism of him at the stadium, at least based on I didn't hear anyone around me say anything specific, mainly because I was sitting by myself. I'm sure if I was sitting with somebody, we might have talked in detail a little bit more about why we were not impressed with what he was doing out there. But it was very clear to me that when he was on the field, especially in the first half, the middle of the field, because I was sitting sort of behind the post, if you will. The middle of the field when we're attacking was just empty. He was never where we need him to be in that box area. We're not even talking like the 6-yard box. We're talking the 18-yard box. He's floating to the wings. He's not doing shit there. He's just kind of overloading wings and not really adding anything, not getting shots off. Saka played him a really great cross early in the game. The shot he took got deflected, but even if it didn't get deflected, he played it straight out of bounds. And I get the criticism, but do you think it's fair, given the totality of the factors and the fact that, yes, these people are highly paid, they're successful by default if they're playing for Arsenal. He's played for Brazil, he's played at World Cups, he came here to be the main man, he's not going to be the main man. But do we need to show this man more grace, given everything that's happened to him since the World Cup in Qatar?
Yeah, I'm never ever going to turn on a player, especially a player like Gabi Jesus. To quote Mikel Arteta, he changed our world. Like, that's the straight up fact. He changed our world. And when players are not playing well, when they're not in form, Gabby Martinelli, just last week was, useless. Like, quite literally, like, he was useless last week. Over the summer, we were talking about that's the big place to upgrade. Oh yeah, we're this, we're that, blah blah blah.
Nico Williams
Nico Williams is a nuke as well, but he doesn't score as many goals as Martinelli, so there's that. So what's the point? But yeah, like, Gabi Jesus to me is a player that needs love, and I feel like I'm repeating what Mikel Arteta said in regards to Havertz, but he needs love. There's plenty of most strikers do. Strikers are egomaniacs. If they don't feel like they're loved, if they don't feel like they're cherished and whatever else, like more often than not, like, they're not going to perform to their best standards. There's a reason why these players are paid the most. There's a reason why these players sell the most shirts. There's a reason why these players are the ones that everybody wants to be when they grow up. There's plenty of wonderful, fantastic footballers. Most players, special players growing up, wanted to be a striker that they idolized. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's just how it goes. Plenty of goalkeepers that played striker growing up and they became professional goalkeeper, but they, deep down they want to be a striker. So, there's a reason why, and it's very, very, very hard. You don't touch the ball as much as anyone. Like, you just don't. And in terms of his play, let's be frank, he's regressed physically. I think And I think that's just a matter of the minutes played and the injuries that he's had. The demands he puts on his body, his style of play. Like at this point, I think he's probably having a hard time accepting that he can't do the things he used to do, which is crazy talking about that. Like a 27-year-old.
27, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to talk about. But again, the demands on these players these days and the injuries that he's had, to my mind, I think there's still a use for him in this squad, but I know we're listening to offers for him. But I know that in the 18-yard box, because of his style of play, if he centers his game around that now, he can still be a massive, massive help to us. You know, winning penalties, getting shots, or creating havoc just from the body feints, from the hold-up play, all that kind of stuff, just in and around the 18-yard box. You don't need to go wide anymore. We've got ample help there. We're fine there. You know, going into the season.
Let me cut there.
Yeah.
Do you think so? We're paying this guy $260K per week. That is the salary you pay a main man, essentially. I think Havertz might earn more, but he's earning his money right now. For a period, he wasn't, but so it goes. Do you think the best use, given Gabby Jesus' jinky qualities, is in the box or on the wings?
That's a good point. I think probably we're looking for relief for Saka, and we spoke about him playing there. Now, having seen him play enough, I think we're looking at him just playing through the middle. I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me to agree with that because I know the physicality is an issue, but I do think there's some value you can get if the instruction is that okay, you get to do those things you like to do with the ball, you get to dance with the ball a little bit when you get it out wide. Then your goal after that, like every other wide player in the world, is to either cut in and shoot on your strong foot or service someone else that's free in the middle once you've created the space by beating a man. I prefer that being his instruction rather than, oh, okay, when the ball lands you in the box, you finish.
Yeah. Because
as good as he's been at certain points in his career, he's never really been a premier finisher. That's always sort of been the issue with him. So it's like, why would we do the work to create these chances?
So he's never been a premier finisher, Gabby Jesus. If he was, we would never have got him because Pep would have kept him, you know. But there's also the argument that he needs some minutes in that part of the field, you know, center forward, because that's why he came to the club, and it won't help his confidence because we do want to get this player back. Like we're saying what we're saying, but I'd much rather him rediscover his form and force Havertz out of the team. Like the numbers in that scenario would be crazy. I'd have to imagine for him to get Havertz out of the team at this stage, but we know that's probably not happening given his history. Like Leopards don't really change their spots over time. They can get better at what they do. And my thinking is that he can get better at what he does, which is jinky shit on the wing. Maybe Arteta needs to sit him down and say, hey, my guy, like, it's not going to happen, but we can still make something out of this before you move on to your next phase of your career. So are you sure that you really want him being I'd much rather have like Martinelli and Trossard as the backup nines over Gabby Jesus. What do you say to that? Am I being a little harsh with his center forward prospects?
So out of all three players that you've mentioned there, Gabby Jesus has the best, has the best physical attributes when it comes to just physical strength, at least. When it comes to speed, obviously it's Martinelli hands down. But Trossard may have struck the balance between the technique and having just enough physical prowess. That's the reason why he's probably the most favoured out of all three of them right now. But physically, I still think he's not up to it, you know. But that's not a slight on him. He's killing it. He's absolutely killing it right now. So, you know, the point I made earlier about him, you know, using all of these best attributes in and around the 18-yard box, I still stand by, because that's genuinely the only way I see him actually benefiting us, but also, you know, finding a way in this team. Because you look at our backup options on the wing now, it's quite literally, well, not in backup, but all our options. It's Saka, Martinelli, Sterling, Trossard, right? And Trossard is playing through the middle right now because obviously the Odegaard injury. But Odegaard's fit. Those are 4 wide options. And then he's the backup to Havertz. He'd much rather have to face down one guy than potentially 2 or 3 on the wing, yeah.
But isn't he facing two guys in the middle for the most part? Because most teams are playing a 4 at the back, so he's going up again. I mean, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just worried that I don't want the chances we create to fall to a guy that is seen as maybe the 5th best finisher in his department of the team. Sterling is a better finisher. Havertz a better finisher. Saka is a better finisher. Martinelli better finisher. Trossard, of course. So why use him there as opposed to the wing? Like let's really argue about this.
No, I mean, as in facing down.
Grab my gun.
I mean, facing down the competition. Basically, if he's only competing with Havertz, he's going to get more looks. Because Havertz, as much as he wants to, and probably can play every minute, he's going to need rest, kind of thing. Whereas, the whole squad's fit now. Then all of a sudden, we're rotating between Trossard and Sterling on the wings. When the hell is he going to play on the wings? Rather than if you rotate all three are starting 3 and then put in Sterling, Trossard, and Jesus plays through the middle. You know what I mean? Or he gets in the team at least, and he rotates with Trossard. He rotates with everyone basically, but I'd still much rather him do all of these chaotic shit in and around the box. Outside the box, we don't need it anymore. We just don't. We absolutely just don't. The pressing shit is still wonderful. It's still very useful. It helps us defend immensely well, but we have Mika Marino now as well. So it's just all these things are kind of making all the things that we love about him redundant outside the box. So we still need to fix our box efficiency. And one way of fixing our box efficiency is causing more havoc. They're causing, having a player there who can really hurt teams, maybe even not with his goals, just by causing panic. I still fall for his feints. And I'm sitting 300 meters away from him. You see what I'm saying? Like, he gets me. So those are the things that those marginal things are the things that really, 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 really matter. And I think, especially in the Champions League as well, because I'm thinking about the bigger picture now. In the Champions League, those things can really, really turn the tide of a tie. I know it was only Sevilla last year, and he ended up playing through Martinelli, but he could easily do that Cruyff turn move inside the box. Easily, you know what I'm saying? So it's those things there, like, you could do all this shit, just don't do it over here now. Let's get you closer to goal doing it. If a goal comes from it, great. If not, we've exactly.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that Sevilla game because he scored an amazing goal. And where did he score it from?
In the box, coming in from the wing. Yeah.
There you go. So I think it's a good problem to have, I suppose. It's just a matter of my concern with him, because clearly what's going on with him is it's a crisis of fitness, it's a crisis of confidence. So I just worry that, I know he has to get minutes in the middle. So you don't want to maroon him to the wing, because I think we'll just lose him as a player entirely if we do that. But I do think ultimately for me, I would prefer him out wide. I think that's where he still has a goal threat from there. It's not as much as we'd like, but it's still a goal threat. And his lack of efficiency in the box doesn't cost us when we create chances. But again, it's a good problem to have, and it's not my problem because I don't get paid like Mikel Arteta does. You mentioned his capacity to press, and we expand that conversation about pressing to the team as a whole. But a big part of why we all love Martin Odegaard is because he leads the press. And honestly, I kind of feel like we haven't skipped a beat. And yesterday was one of the better days. Like, watching Jorginho and Rice back up the press in that first half was really impressive. Is this just a thing we can come to expect regardless of the personnel at this point?
Mikel Arteta is a dictator. So, yeah, everyone.
I'd say terrible.
Yeah, is what is, so not, yeah, really, it goes hand in hand these days, apparently. So, but I think, yeah, he's drilled it into the team so much so that when Eri comes on and he's making slide tackles, a 17-year-old that's all of 4 foot is running around making slide tackles on 6 foot plus guys. So everybody is bought in. Everybody's bought into it. And again, I think Gabby Jesus is part of that. I genuinely think when he came to the club, Arteta was trying to elevate the profile, elevate the mentality. And they've seen a guy who's fantastic on the ball, has all these great skills and all these great qualities, and he's the one working harder than everybody else. And that's infectious. It's translated to everybody else. So they've got no excuses. He's earning X amount and he's running more than you. Okay, I've got no more excuse. I have to match this guy's effort. So yeah, everybody has bought. And if there's one player in the team that probably doesn't do it as much, it's probably Trossard. But that's okay in a sense. We're not carrying him. He tries his best, but it's nowhere near as intense as everybody else because he just hasn't got the.
Him and Sterling.
Yeah, him and Sterling tries, but again, it's he's 29 now, he's playing this way for a long time. The accumulation of this shit, it takes its toll.
Chelsea stink.
Yeah, the Chelsea stink as well, obviously. But yeah, you look at Havertz. Havertz is leading it. Havertz currently right now, along with Saka, he's the leader. That's what that's what Arteta wants. But I also feel like it's a happy accident in the sense that this is a guy that was low on confidence, was playing in midfield, was playing everywhere which else, and then all of a sudden he's the main man now, and he's working his arse off as well. And Arteta can easily just say, guys, look, I've done it with Jesus, I've done it with Havertz. You know, you can fucking trust me. You know what I'm saying?
That is really good advertising for his coaching capacity.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, because at the end of the day, coaching above, obviously the team is the most important thing, but above all else, I think what players want is to play for a guy that will make them better. You know, and say what you want about Arteta. Say some people think he lacks charisma. Some people, you know, whatever. He makes players better, and players love that. So Arsenal will not lack for attraction, if you will, over the years. But back to this game. Let's talk a little bit of Sterling since we kind of got in there. Is he actually fit yet, do you think? You don't think so? How much longer are we supposed to wait before he gets to where we need him to be?
Arteta's got to basically ask for his diet, I think. Because it's weird, Sterling obviously is a fresh footballer. He's obviously fit, but for what we want to do, I still think he could shed a couple more pounds and definitely, you know, up the intensity kind of thing. But he didn't. He really didn't. He hasn't got that much minutes in his legs over the last. You know, I think his last start for Chelsea was, I think, was preseason, and then obviously he was just like asked to. They banished him to Azkaban and whatever else. Like it was just bad, and it takes a while. Exactly, man. And I don't blame him. Morley, that's some good chicken, man. But
Sponsor us, I think.
You see, that's a guy from Houston telling us that we do fried chicken very, very well. Yeah. So guys, I don't want to hear any mess anymore. Yeah. But yeah, I think yeah, get him a bit more up to speed. Same thing with Marino as well, which again we'll touch on. But get him a bit more up to speed, and he's trying. That's the main thing here. Like Arteta's obviously got buy-in from him. Like he's obviously trusting what he's done. To me, I think he was Arteta's first crowning achievement as a coach anyway. So
read the article about the Amazon Prime City documentary.
Yeah.
So for sure. Let's talk more about these, because we're at the point in the game where the subs started happening. Because we've talked the Havertz goal, we talked Cameron Archer, and the subs came in. The guy that probably made the most difference, you know, like, is obviously Saka, and we're going to get to him in a bit. But his impact was throughout the game, like it always is. The guy that made the most difference to me sitting in the stands watching the game from the angle I watched the game from, and I mentioned a couple minutes ago that the big thing I noticed in the first half was I didn't feel like we're attacking out the middle at all, you know, and that's something that kind of sticks in my mind a lot, given the tons of comparisons between Pep and Mikel, because Pep, come rain, come shine, he will be attacking down the middle. They will be there. That's how his teams attack. Mikel is not as strict about that. He doesn't mind going over your press. He doesn't mind going around your press. Pep is way more strict about it. I thought our problem in the first half was that we didn't really go down the middle. When Marino came on, somehow, I think it was, because it wasn't necessarily, he did play a crazy pass towards the end when we're like 3-1 up, but it wasn't really about his passing through the middle. It was his positioning in the middle and the fact that he kept winning duels in the middle. And when he'd win those duels, we'd break from those areas in the middle into the other team's box, into Southampton's box. And I thought he made a huge difference in the game for a guy that is probably not fit since he just came back from a 6-week shoulder issue. Is this what we can come to expect from this guy? Like, what did you see? What did you like? Because I think this is a performance we can take the most from. Like, when he played against PSG, I guess with him, it's just really duels, really. But I think there was a little bit more to his game yesterday. What did you like? What did you not like?
I'll start with what I didn't like. So this will be very, very short. I didn't like the fact he looked as if he wanted more time. It didn't feel like he was trying to earn more time. It felt like, oh, well, yeah, we're Arsenal, we're at home, you know, I should have more time in the ball. I feel like he got caught a couple of times, but again, that could just be a fitness thing or a sharpness thing where he's like,
I think it might be his style.
Yeah.
He's kind of calm.
Yeah, no, he's calm.
I feel like every player in the team now has that pause and shit in Spanish.
Yeah.
Which wasn't always the case. Like, take Martinelli, for instance.
Yeah.
Talk about him in more detail, but, you know, I think everyone just has that capacity to, and I think for him, maybe his instruction coming on the field was put a foot on the ball, perhaps. I don't know, but I felt like he was the reason we started attacking them.
Yeah, no. I totally get that, but we all know in the Premier League that you do that kind of shit, like how Sterling got caught on the ball and it's a goal. So that's a thing that'll be ironed out for sure, kind of thing. But when we didn't have the ball, I don't know what else to say. Jewel man, yeah, that's me. Like he loves it. I think he almost even kind of wants players to not to have the ball so that he can take it off them, you know. So, but yeah, I think that's such a great. It's a great thing to have, to especially to come off the bench. Now, I don't think he's going to be a bench player for us, but just imagine at some point in the season I wouldn't say loses his place in the team, but we start bringing him off the bench again, and we're trying to get a foothold in the game. He comes on the pitch, he just starts nicking the ball again and just shifting momentum. It's such a great attribute to have, and I'm thankful we didn't particularly need that yesterday. But yeah, I think his passing as well is very smart, very decisive. And on top of that as well, I don't feel like he ever forces things. You know, he'll make the best choice 9 times out of 10. See that enough for Spain, see that enough for Sociedad as well. I'm genuinely excited to see him carry the ball and run the ball a lot more when he's fully fit. These are the sort of things that players usually build themselves up to, kind of thing. You've seen it with players over the years. There's certain things that they do, and you know that they're fully fit. Same thing, like, I'll give an example of a player that's kind of similar. Aaron Ramsey making a recovery tackle basically after attacking the box lets you know that he's back, basically. Those are the things that you look for. I don't know, Wayne Rooney, his first touch, you know, which is crazy. But you know, when Rooney's first touch is off, you know that he's still, yeah, he's not in shape just yet. When it's crisp, then you know, kind of thing. And I feel like with Mourinho, him carrying the ball out and shit, that's when we know that this guy is fully arrived, he's fully fit now, kind of thing. So yeah, I was pleased to be honest. And it's nice that we haven't waited for him to be fit before Martinelli, which I think we're going to get onto now, started showing form again. So yeah.
I'm glad you previewed Martinelli because you make my segue easy. The remontada continues. At this point, I think for us on this pod, Mitch, Gabby, yourself, we've all made note of the fact that just generally his overall play has improved over the season as the season has progressed. But in the last 2 weeks now, the end product has come with it. You know, like he's been getting assists. He got to go. And he got a goal today thanks to the genius stallions of our wonderful star man, because he's definitely not a boy anymore. He's kicking people like a man. He almost murdered Kyle Walker-Peters at one point in that game. Like, I felt bad. I thought the man was going to get stretchered off. But Saka cuts in from the left after, I forget exactly how we built up to that. I remember I started with a throw on the other side of the field. Calafiori throws it in. Ball gets over to he passes. He throws it to Saliba. Saliba tries to control the ball, kind of stumbles on it a little bit, but nothing comes of that. He passes out to the right. It eventually makes its way over to Bukayo. Bukayo cuts in on his strong foot, does that classic Di Maria type cross. Martinelli at the far post. Vieira made us a little nervous in the stadium a little bit, but 2-1 to the Arsenal. Are we at the point where we can say, okay, the slump is officially over and we can just start building on this?
I don't know. We're going to have to wait 2 weeks and hopefully no injury for him or anyone else before we can tell, because the greedy old men at FIFA and whoever else seem to think it's a good idea to chuck 2 international breaks in before November. Guys, the season started in August and we're in our second international break. So I don't know. I don't know how players are going to catch rhythm and get into form if they're having to play international football every 6 weeks. Because that's what it's like. The last international break was like 1 month ago. It was literally like a month ago because, yeah, it was like a month ago. Yep. We were talking about how we're going to cope without Declan Rice. Remember? Yeah, so I don't know, guys. How will we know if Martinelli's back? We'll have to, find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. So, but no, for real, he's exactly. He's just Martinelli's my guy. Like, Martinelli is my guy, and he chops a lot of disrespect because he doesn't play like a classic Brazilian, and I hear it. I'm very guilty of doing that. Talking about other players like that. Namely Anthony and Richarlison and all these other just dickheads. The main thing though that he has over them is he can finish.
Not a dickhead.
Yeah, and he's not a dickhead for sure. Like, he can finish, and he does try shit. Like, he actually does try shit. So I'm not mad at that. I think the biggest thing now for Martinelli is confidence. That's all it is, because he's helping his fullback. He's making as many runs as possible to get into goal positions. He's taking shots. He's creating shit. Just keep doing it. Just keep your head up. Keep playing, kind of thing. Because a player of his style and ilk, it's all volume. He needs to get as many chances as possible to start putting shit away, kind of thing. So the more he creates for himself, the more others create for him. I think we're going to see hopefully a season that surpasses 22-23, because I think that version of our attack right there, it was, I want to say, even though we scored more goals last year, I think the season before, just purely our attacking department there, the sheer panic and volume of high quality chances, it was brutal. We would really batter teams, even if sometimes the scoreline wouldn't show for it. So I'm hoping we get to that sort of level of ruthlessness and violence, to be honest. And then you're adding in a 6'4" option to cross into the box as well to supplement all the other shit. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah, man, we're loving it indeed. Like Morley's. I was gonna say, like, I think he also suffers from the comparison to Saka, because they sort of, we got him around the time Saka was coming into the team, and people just assumed that they developed together like some sort of Arsenal version of Mane and Salah, and he hasn't quite kicked on the same way Saka has. But I almost like the fact that he's not quite as efficient as Saka, that he's faster than Saka. He brings different things to the table, so naturally, the results we're going to get out of him are going to be different from what we're getting out of Saka. Like, I don't expect him to be as consistent as Saka, but I do think he can match the volume in certain seasons. And hopefully this is one of those seasons. Between Big Pasta at the back and Merino in midfield, I'm really optimistic for this boy's future. I really am. Like, remember that Jurgen Klopp, of all people, called him the talent of the century and was talking about him in a period where Liverpool probably could have made an offer and we would have had to consider, we probably wouldn't have done it, but would have had to consider it because we weren't going anywhere at the time, and I'm glad that didn't go down, so, but you just don't lose that talent because you had a bad year or two with some badly timed injuries and, loss of form or whatever. The third goal to settle the game followed, about 20 minutes after we went up 2-1. The third goal came, and that was after yet another duel win in midfield. This was Havertz this time, who, he was good throughout the game, but once we went down, he really stepped up another level. Like, he really went into talisman mode for real. It was like he was competing with Saka to figure out which one of us is going to drag the team out of this today. And I appreciate both of them. Not necessarily equally, because only one of them looks like he can speak Yoruba, even if he can't. But he wins the ball in midfield, taps it while he's on the floor to Trossard. Trossard runs straight down the middle of Southampton's defense. He has tiny legs, obviously, so he gets caught up. Ball gets tackled from him. He probably should have passed the left to Martinelli, to be honest, but he didn't do that. That's okay. I don't mind the selfish striker. Ball gets tapped away. Sugawara from Southampton, I don't know what he was doing. He just cleared it. He tried to, I don't know what he was trying to do there. In any event, he ends up assisting Saka with the perfect pass. And it was very opportunistic from Saka because a microsecond later, and the guy actually gets a second touch to get out of the box. And Saka just one time bang. Like, I love a finish like that, where it's like, listen, we're not messing around. We just hitting this shit, And which, real quick, to go back to Havertz, sorry to get a little scatterbrained about this. I wanted to give him credit for the fact that the goal he scored he scored one like that against Chelsea last season when he held off Cucurella from the Odegaard pass. But generally, he tends to mess up his chances when he has to take more than one touch. And yesterday, he took multiple touches, cut in on a guy, then scored. So that's, if you're wondering if that man is confident, he's confident, and he can only get better. I think there's more to come from him. Mikel said that after the game. But back to the third goal. Saka scores, game done and dusted for me. I suppose, is this just the level we're supposed to expect from Saka? Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase this question because I'm being a coward. Is Bukayo Saka the best footballer in the Premier League right now? Because we had to have this conversation about Cole Palmer last week. He did it in one game. 4 goals in one game against a team that's not a very good defensive team. Saka has been doing it consistently all season. Is leading the league in assists right now. Odegaard went out the team. He's like, what does the team need? We need creativity. He's creating for the team. He's scoring goals. Is he the best player in the Premier League right now?
Yes. Yes. Like, look, I'm not going to talk about anything Rent Boy related on an Arsenal podcast. So we'll just leave it there. But what Saka is and what Saka does, doesn't always actually line up, because what he does sometimes I feel like is even a little bit beneath him for the team. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean in the sense that just this last week he spoke about the fact that he wants to attack more, but obviously he's got to help the team out. Now, if Saka played for any other team, Saka's numbers go through the roof because he's not making as many recovery sprints, because teams are going to be like, okay, you know, we've got this demon here. Let him just do his thing in the final third. But Saka is such a well-rounded and such a disciplined player that he doesn't mind it, but also it doesn't really hurt his numbers too tough. My thing is that I want to see how we are when we kind of take the shackles off him a little bit, because right now Saka is still shackled, believe it or not, in a sense that he's playing for the team, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our last number 7 was a piece of shit. So, actually no, I'm talking about Mkhitaryan, and it's not Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan is a lovely man. The other one, Atama and Humber's dad, but that idiot played for himself. And if Saka did, even if Saka played 10 games like that in a season, right, Saka's numbers would be stupid. Absolutely stupid. And I think that's what a lot of people are not recognizing. We're platforming him now because, again, it's obvious that he's the next. He's not even the next one up, but he's the one to actually carry us when we don't have another creative player in that region of the pitch, kind of thing. So it's fine, and he can do it. He's even doing it with so much grace that he's sitting guys down multiple times a game, kind of thing. You know, he's doing he's actually doing what is required of it. He's playing as a winger. He's playing as a playmaker. He's playing as a second full. He's doing it all basically. They called him stiff, coach. Yeah. They called him stiff. Can you imagine? They call. They're saying, yeah, but it's just the aesthetics. Okay, so what happens now? He's making your fullback eat grass. Like, what happens now? Oh, I just don't like the way he did it. Your fullback's eating grass, bro. Like, what else what more do you want from him? The fact that he's taking players on and the end product is there has always been a function of his game, but it's the lethality of it now. It's not that he's just doing it just to mock it. He's doing it and he's creating goals. He's creating big chances for it. There is probably only in the world of football, in terms of decisiveness, the only other players that are probably as decisive as him, they all play at Real Madrid. That is it. That is literally it. There is nobody in the Premier League that's fucking with him. There's nobody in Germany fucking with him. Okay, cool. I can accept that. Yeah, Guerassi, no, I'm joking. But no, but in Italy, no. France, no. Portugal. I mean, there's literally nobody fucking with this guy. So yeah, it's literally they're all at Real Madrid. Yamal is nice. Yamal's lovely. Yamal's a prodigy, is a prodigal talent, and he's probably the next one up after Saka. But Saka is the benchmark, point blank. Period. So yeah.
Yeah, as a wise poet once said, nobody does it better. Yeah, for me, I gotta say, like, I don't want to guess it, but it feels very obvious to me that he's in the conversation. I think when we start talking, I'm not a man for individual accolades and all that stuff, but when award season comes around again, I think he took notice of how he got ignored last season. He didn't even make PFA Team of the Year, which is crazy, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care who got in ahead of him. He should have been involved in that team. Like, put him at left back if you want to, but put him there. But yeah, for me, he's currently the best player in the league, and he will take some moving. That's for sure. Let's do some quick admin stuff. It was really, really nice to see Takehiro Tomiyasu come on as a substitute again. I've missed that guy. It was nice to see him. He's not getting called up by Japan because we know he's notorious for getting fit right in time for an international break. But this time they did not call him up, and we appreciate that. But I don't know. Did you notice anything? Was any insight anything you wanted to add to Tommy being back?
Mikel Arteta clearly recognised that the game needed to be complete and utterly shut down, and to my estimations, that he's still our best lockdown defender. So good to get minutes in the legs, but also just the way the game went. Like I mentioned earlier, Southampton completed more passes than us in the second half, which tells us again that the many faces of Arsenal. We play the game that's required, not the game that we want, which probably sounds a little bit contradictory to what Arteta, talks about, but genuinely, we play the game that's there in front of us, kind of thing.
He's talked about context.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if it means that we're 2-1 up or 3-1 up kind of thing, and we need to let the other team have the ball, why are we chasing the game? Going back to City again, like we're doing what's required. We're 3-1 up. Why are we still trying to dominate the ball and potentially risk injury by making all these long bursts and runs when we're already the game's won basically? It's about accepting, being humble as you like, about what's required. That's it for me. Like Tomiyasu coming on is just a signal that okay, Five has done his job today. We need to get minutes into this guy's legs now, kind of thing, to let him again feel confident, feel involved in this shit. Because you imagine, after I don't know if you noticed, but after the game, our academy boys, Lewis Skelly and Waneri, got into the middle of the pitch in their big puffer jackets and were fighting over to touch the ball. They were literally trying to get ahead of the ball, kind of thing, and have a little bit of a kickabout, because obviously they didn't get one today. And that's the mentality, that's the environment that Arteta is breeding. Everybody wants a kick, and everybody will get a kick provided they stay fit, kind of thing. And I feel like that's important for Tomiyasu to realize, because because again, when Ben White after the international break is probably going to be fit, I hope, kind of thing. That's another player that Tomiyasu is going to have to fight with again. So again, a lot of minutes to go around. Everyone needs to feel involved. They need to feel engaged, kind of thing. Going back to Gabby Jesus and shit. Like, we really need all of these players, even players that we don't like, which to my mind, it shouldn't. Well, there's one obvious one, but but genuinely, we need everyone. We need everyone. So,
and real quick, you mentioned the academy kids very briefly. Yeah. What did you make of them not playing? Some people felt as if maybe the game would have gone differently if we started Ethan. People thought he'd play against one of the worst teams in the league. He didn't. What did you make of that?
What's funny? We was talking with my mate So on the way back from the game, and he was just like, "Yeah, people are crying about this shit." I was like, "So, like, bottom of my heart, love Waneri, love Lewis Skelly, and I think it's important for them to play minutes this season. If they don't play for the next 5-10 games, I don't give a shit. I don't mean that I don't want them to play, but I'm not thinking of that. There's games to be won here. There's quite literally no time for all of this. Oh yeah, we've got to balance this, we've got to balance that. All this pathway bullshit. They've got one of them play Champions League football. The other one literally scored 2 goals last week.
One got into a tussle with Erling Haaland.
Exactly.
On,
like
17-year-olds don't do this shit.
Exactly. So it's like all this stuff trying to rush them in and force them in. Let them be kids. Let them look at what is required. The funny thing is, it's going to sound a bit contradictory here, but they're going to learn a lot about the environment watching these guys. They're going to learn a bunch. And obviously, the best education is playing games, kind of thing. But they're not going into games cold. When Arsenal years back, we threw Saka in cold. Let's be frank. It wasn't a good environment. We threw him in cold. You get lucky with these players sometimes that they thrive. We got lucky with Saka. Let's make no mistake about it. We got incredibly lucky with Saka. So when we can actually control the variables around these guys and give them the best opportunity, best environment, the best opportunities to thrive, kind of like Bolton, let's give it to them then. But Southampton are a Premier League team, guys. Like legit, they're a Premier League team, and there's points on the board. Let's do what's sensible,
Let's I know a lot of you fuck with the pod because we're very unserious. For Arsenal fans, let's be serious, okay? Let's not fuck around. On that note, I think we've done more than enough on this game. It's been a pleasure. Love you guys for hanging with us. I wish I could be in London more often and we could do this more often, but whatever, man. I live in the best country on the planet, so I don't got to do this shit. Like over there, like over there, we tower durags on the side, and our chicken is still better, even if we like the chicken here. But that's enough from me. Per usual, please like, share, subscribe, review stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm starting another competition that I'll give people prizes for, even though the people who won the last prizes haven't gotten their prizes yet. They're coming. Just let me get home. But give us reviews. The funniest review gets a really nice prize. I promise you. Spotify, Apple, just put the review somewhere. We read all of them. If I see some shit that makes me laugh, I'm gonna track you down. We're gonna mention you on the pod. We're gonna hook you up with something. In any event, Coach, anything else for the people? All right then. Peace.
Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.